Money is something that you can give away, but power is a little bit different. The second you let power go, you don't really control what happens next, and that's the point. There was a Roman farmer named Cincinnatus in the 5th century BC, and at this time, Rome was getting overrun, and the Senate went out to Cincinnatus's field and essentially made him a dictator. They gave him absolute power to do whatever he wanted to do in order to save the empire. He took the job, won the war in 16 days, and he gave all the power back. He went right back onto plowing his own field. A few years later, Rome found itself in the same predicament. They came back to Cincinnatus, and he had the exact same power. He won it, and then he gave it back again a second time. He had two chances to make himself a king, make him wealthy beyond measure, but he passed on both. 2,300 years later, George Washington did the exact same thing. By 1783, he'd beaten the British Empire. After 8 years of war, he refused to take a salary for any of it. And one of the colonels, a subordinate of him, sent a letter proposing that George Washington be made king. Washington got very offended by this, saying he was insulted that the man even thought Washington would want to become king. Washington's own officers, they were unpaid and they were fed up with Congress, and they started talking about mutiny against the US. Washington walked in one of their meetings. He pulled out a pair of reading glasses that nobody had ever seen him wear. And he said, "Gentlemen, you're going to have to pardon me. I've grown gray in your service, and now I find myself going blind." His officers started weeping, seeing the leader that they had so much hope in show these human qualities, and the coup just died right there. So on December 23rd, 1783, George Washington walked into Congress in Annapolis, Maryland, and handed over his commission papers, and he went home. When King George III of England had heard that Washington was actually planning on resigning rather than filling the power vacuum, he said, "If Washington does this, he's the greatest man in the world." But a little known fact, though, is Washington laying down his power had been a conscious decision that had been based all along off of the stories of Cincinnatus. He'd even led a society that his men established at the end of the war called the Society of Cincinnati. So the men knew whose story that he was actually living. The hardest thing about power, especially when you establish it through hard fought battles, is setting it down when you don't know what's going to happen next.